Hi everyone, hello. How are you doing? I hope you're doing good. So, welcome to another video of Chapter 9 Human Health and Disease. We were talking about the different types of immunity, that is, innate and acquired immunity. In previous video, we covered the acquired immunity, characteristics of acquired immunity, and different types of acquired immunity. Now, in this video, we will be talking about the cells of the immune system, which play a very important role in acquired immunity. Okay, so there are two types, basically, the humoral mediated immunity and the cell mediated immunity. Okay, when we talk about the cells of the immune system, there are two broad type of cells, two major category of cells. One fall under something known as humoral mediated immunity and other one is cell mediated immunity. Now, what do we mean by humoral mediated? Humoral basically is your one type of cell which are known as B cells. Okay, why B cell and what does this B stand for? We'll come to that in a short while. But you have two important types of cells known as T cells and B cells. When your immune system is activated by the B cell, and the B cell will take care of the antigen and it will kill the antigen. So this particular type, we will call it as humoral mediated. So B cell is responsible for getting away with. So the B cell will be responsible to getting away with the antigen or foreign microorganism. So in this particular case, we will call humoral mediate. And when T cells are involved in the immune response, then we will call it as cell mediated immunity. Okay, which we will come, uh, we will discuss in a short while. So, humoral immunity, basically, B cells are involved and antibody will be produced by the B cells. So, it is known as B cell and antibody mediated immunity. Okay, so these B cells will produce certain molecules which are known as antibody against the antigen. Antigen is any foreign bacteria or any foreign microorganism that can cause disease. So, back to fight it back, to fight against it, the B cells will release what? Antibodies. So it is antibody mediated immunity against the pathogen. Okay, now why the name B cell? Because these immune cells are produced and matured in the bone marrow. Very, very important. Bone marrow. Okay. So because these cells are produced and matured in the bone marrow, they are known as hence the name is B cells. So where do they live? Once they are produced and matured in the bone marrow, they can live in the lymph nodes. They will reside in the lymph node or they will reside in the spleen and also they will circulate in the blood and the lymph. So they are pretty much everywhere in the circulatory system. Okay, these are your B cells. They are wandering inside your lymph or your blood. They can directly recognize the antigen and then they can produce antibody via clonal selection. Clonal selection, we will come to this in a short while. Okay, so what are B cells? Basically, these are immune cells which are produced and matured in the bone marrow. Okay, what is their action? Once they encounter the antigen, they will produce antibodies and they will try to kill that antibodies. Okay, they are present everywhere in the blood and the lymph nodes, spleen. They are circulating in the blood, just like police are wandering on the, not wandering. They are there everywhere on the road and at checkpoints. So similarly, they will act like policemen and whenever they see any antigen, they will recognize it and then they will undergo clonal selection. Now, clonal selection is basically the main B cell will recognize the antigen and then accordingly, which type of B cell will produce antibodies to kill that particular antigen. So, accordingly, that B cell will undergo division. Okay, so clonal expansion will produce antibody secreting plasma cells as well as memory B cells. Okay, they will produce plasma cells and memory B cells. Okay, for example, if you see this, if I explain this with the help of a visual, so let's say if this is a virus and the antigen is recognized by the B cell. Okay, now Once the antigen binds to the B cell gets activated. You see B cell activation. Now this will undergo what? Clonal selection and expansion. What is clonal selection and expansion? First, what type of what type of the immune cell will kill this virus? What type of immune cell will kill this virus? That is clonal selection. That will be decided by the B cell. That will be decided by the B cell. For example, here in this case, lymphoblast. Now, lymphoblast is the selected clonal cell which will fight this antigen of this virus. Now, once the clonal selection happens, now clonal expansion will take place. Expansion means what? This immune cell, lymphoblast, will undergo division and differentiation into two type of cells. One is the cell which will produce the antibody and kill this virus. And the another one is the memory cell which will remember this virus, which will remember this entire event of killing. Remember this, we are talking under the acquired immunity, which has memory, which will produce memory cell. So clonal expansion means once the B cell is activated by this binding of the antigen, it will decide which soldier to send to kill the antigen. It will not itself kill, actually it will undergo selection. Then this lymphocyte, which is selected now, it will undergo differentiation and division, and two types, plasma cell and memory cell. Plasma cell will do the production of the chemical molecules, that is the antibodies, which will kill the virus. And whereas the memory cell will remember this virus structure and it will be prepared for future encounters. Okay, interesting. So this is how your humoral mediated immunity will function. Now, these are certain cells that we need to know which participate in your immune response. Now, before going to these cells, we will have a look at the T cell mediated immune response, cell mediated, and then we'll go back to that particular site. Now, that was humoral immunity wherein B cell participated. Now, here T cell. You can see the picture. The T cell can differentiate into type cytotoxic cells or T helper cells, which will do the killing of the virus or bacteria or infected cell. So in cell-mediated immunity, T cell will participate. The cell will itself participate directly. So hence it is known as cell-mediated immune response. Okay, attack cells infected with bacteria or virus. So in humoral immunity, the action is such like the B cell will produce plasma cell and memory cell. The plasma cell will produce antibodies and it will kill the viruses. Okay, here antibodies will not be produced. Mostly the cell will directly attack the infected cell. The T cell will directly attack the infected cell with bacteria or viruses. So this is kind of helping to bridge the gap between the B cell and the innate immune cell. Okay. So certain cells which cannot be killed by antibodies or cannot be killed by innate immunity. So in that case, T cell will now come in picture. Okay, so there are three types of T cells: cytotoxic T cells, helper T cells, and memory T cells. Even here also memory will be generated because we are talking about acquired immunity. Cytotoxic, see the name itself is telling you the function. Cytotoxic, directly it will be toxic in nature, it will kill the infected cell. So it will destroy the antigen bearing cell. By how it will destroy, it has certain bullets in the form of perforins and granzymes. It has these molecules, perforins and granzyme, which will attack the cell, infected cell, and it will try to kill it. Okay. Then helper cells will help in activating the T cells, other T cells and other B cells. This is the name itself is telling you. It will activate the other cells in the immunity. Okay, now you also be prepared. It's like that soldier which is going to other soldiers and telling them to prepare for the fight. They will regulate the immunity by secreting cytokine. Remember in the first slide we saw the cytokine is a signaling molecule. So these helper cells will secrete signaling molecules and they will activate the other neighboring cells of the immune system to get activated for killing. And memory cells, of course, persist after a successful immune response. They will be there. They will be there always. Okay, and they will remember the antigen and they will provide protection if the same antigen is acquired again. Okay, so this is all about cell-mediated immune response. Okay, this is how the picture looks like when we talk about the cell-mediated immune response. If this is a virus and let's say one of the cell-mediated immune cell recognizes the antigen, it engulfs the antigen and it presents the antigen, okay, on the cell membrane. Now the T helper cell recognizes this, means now this cell needs to be killed because it is infected with the virus. Okay, the virus is there inside. T helper cell will recognize this. It will produce these cytokines. Okay, these are the cytokines. Now the T helper cell signals, it will simulate the B cell to produce antibodies and it will signal the cytotoxic cell to kill the cell. Okay, so it will do two-way immune response. It will also activate the B cell for antibody production. It will also activate the cytotoxic T cell for killing the infected cells of this particular virus. So this is how the picture will look like. Have a closer look. Yeah, by releasing cytokine once the virus particle is processed and presented on the membrane. So once it recognizes, it will start producing signal molecules, that is cytokines, and activate all the other cells of the immune system. Okay. So this is how they will, another picture, how the attack will happen. So this is your immune cell of cell-mediated immunity. So cytotoxic T cells recognize infected cell, leading to cell death. Yes. So this cytotoxic T cell will recognize the viral antigen. Okay. And it will kill directly the infected cell. Whereas B cells will do what? B cells will release antibodies. B cells will release antibodies and then they will kill the viruses. And hence these viruses cannot bind the the normal cells. Okay. Now we move to the cells which are actually participating in the immune response. All of them we are aware of what are these cells. We have already been introduced to these cells, but we will see in more detail their functions if we have missed out on anything. So here in this slide we will cover it. So macrophage, we have discussed this time and again. What is the main function of macrophage? To help in phagocytosis, that is killing and engulfment of the infected cells. Processing and presentation of foreign antigen to T cells. Okay, what is this? So if there is any infected cells with any bacteria or virus, so their structures, the structure of the bacteria and the structure of the virus in in form of receptors, they will present it to the T cells for recognition so that T cells can also become activated and help in killing mechanism. Also, they will secrete interferons in case of viruses. Okay, these interferons, remember, these are what? Cytokines, signaling molecules. These signaling molecules will help in signaling the T cell growth, which can eventually come together and kill the infected cells and that particular microorganism. It also induces division and multiplication of B cells by secreting interleukin. Interleukin, another, again, it's a cytokine. So this cytokine will signal B cells to undergo more division and multiplication to produce, so that more the number of plasma cells and memory cells, there will be more amount of antibodies and the infection can be get rid away at a quicker pace. Okay. Then you have the B cell. Obviously, B cell, they will bind to the antigen and which is membrane bound, and then they will produce the antibody which will kill the antigen. Okay, so they serve as an antigen presenting cell to the Th cells. Also, in addition to producing plasma cells and memory cells, they also give signal to the helper cells, T helper cells, so that they can also activate the cytotoxic T cells for killing of the neighboring infected cell. Plasma cell, we know they are derived from the activated B cells. It's a biological, biochemical factory. And the main function of plasma cell is just making and secretion of these antibodies, okay, which will help in killing the antigen. And finally, the memory ones, the name itself is telling you, the memory will remain in the body after an immune response, and it is ready to respond rapidly and forcefully against the same antigen if it enters the body in the future. So it is like the soldiers which are already present in border on the border, like always protecting. So whenever there is any antigen coming in, so they are ready always. They through prior experience, they can now attack with rapid succession and forceful against that particular antigen. Okay, so that is the main work of memory cell. And plasma cells we just saw. Mostly they will secrete the antibodies only, and B cells have dual role. They will divide into plasma and memory cell, and also they will help the T cells to get activated for an accumulated immune response. And macrophages, mostly they are there in engulfment of the infected cell and the bacteria or the virus, and also signaling molecules. Okay, so that's all about the cells of the immune system. Now, in the next video, we will be talking about how an antigen and antibody reacts. Okay, once the antibody is produced and antigen is there, how do they come together and how the antibody kills the antigen? And before that, we will also study the structure of the antibody in detail. So thank you. That's all for this video. Take care. Bye.